Hey everyone, it's Sia from Heal Love Now. And I wanted to share with you my out of body experience. I had joined a YouTuber called Darius J. Wright, and watched some of his videos and was very moved and enthralled by his philosophy and practice of going out of the body when he goes to sleep and traveling and traversing throughout the other side and the universe and all the lessons and wisdom that he came back with from his travels. So I joined his site, which walks you through all of his experiences and how you can bring this ability into your own life of traveling out of your body when you sleep. So I practice his protocol every night religiously, diligently, and I could never leave the body. But I had this encouragement from my childhood and my young adulthood, whereby I would go into a sort of frozen state when I was falling asleep, and I would not be able to move my body, but I would be fully awake and fully aware, but my body would be completely stiff, completely frozen, and I couldn't move, and I thought I was dead. And this happened to me throughout my childhood and my teen years, and I was panicked about it. I just didn't know what it was, and it really terrified me. So after a while, it stopped happening, but I always had it as a fear of it might happen again. And so when I started watching Darius Wright, he talks about that state where you are awake and aware, but your body is sleeping. And he said that that is a portal into the out of body experience. And I thought, wow, so this thing that happened to me is actually a thing, and it's an opportunity for greater spiritual growth and understanding. So I was very excited, and I practice his protocol every night diligently, which is basically to consciously go into this state and let your body wind down, let it completely relax, whilst keeping a light on in your consciousness and in your awareness, so that when your body does drop off, you will remain awake, and then you can leave your body on the bed and go to the other side. So I could not do it for some reason, and I was kind of frustrated because I really wanted to go to the other side. I wanted to see my mom, and I'm also I've been widowed, so I wanted to see my late husband. I was widowed at an early age with a young daughter, and it was very traumatic for me. My husband died suddenly, and it was a whole bunch of drama around it, and I wasn't there, and it was just a whole thing that I will go into in another video. But I really wanted to see my late husband because I never see him in dreams, very, very rarely, if at all, maybe glimpses of him from behind in a dream far away. But I wanted to dream about him. I wanted to see him and talk to him. And also my mom, who passed away a few years ago, I wanted to talk to her about some things that were unresolved when she passed. So not being able to go into this state that would allow me to move out of my body was frustrating. And I went back on his site, and he also talks about how if the main protocol doesn't work, there are some other kind of like side ways, back doors you can get into that state. So one thing he suggested was through the dreams, to lucid dream yourself into the out of body experience. So don't try to get into this freeze mode with your body before you fall asleep. Just go to sleep, and then in the dream state, stay conscious, and then step into the out of body there. So he explains it way better on his site in detail, step by step. But basically, I decided to just let go of it and go to sleep with the intention of stepping into a lucid state and then consciously moving into out of the body. So just as soon as I did that, I went to sleep one night and I dreamed that I was approaching a rift in time. And he talks about this too, being when you get that feeling that you're in a space but it's moving, it's like not static and it's shifting, then you have stepped out of time and you're in the portal for the outer body. So I was in my bed in my room, but I started getting this sense that the room was shifting, it was bending, but I was dreaming. But I knew that in this dream where the room is bending, that's my portal to go into the outer body. So as soon as I knew that, as soon as I was conscious of that, my body flew out of my flat, my soul body, and my real physical body was still in my room on the bed. I flew out so effortlessly, right out of the window, and it was so beautiful. And I thought, great, I'm out of the body. I've done it. I'm free. This is just like Darius said. And I found myself flying around my neighborhood. And I'm telling you, it was totally real and totally physical. But I was no longer bound by the laws of gravity or human laws of time, because immediately that I would think something, it would happen. So I found myself flying around, and I knew I was out of the body. I knew this was it. This was my chance. So I said, I got to see my mom. And instantly that I said that, I went straight up into what felt like the heavens, into this beautiful place. I flew straight up into this beautiful place that was so sublime and so supreme in its goodness. So I knew it must be heaven. And I looked for my mom, and I instantly heard her voice. And she called my name in the same way that she used to do when she was alive, and so sweet. And I felt all her energy around. So it was like my mom times 1,000. All her great qualities and her essence and her presence surrounded me. And I felt so much love and so much support. And I was so happy to be with my mom again. And I wanted to see her. But for some reason, I just got dropped out of that heavenly atmosphere. And I instantly thought again, okay, I'm on my way to see my husband, my late husband. And as I was dropping, something said to me, no, you need to see your current husband. It was almost like saying, you need to be in the present situation with regards to your husband. That yes, you want to see your late husband, but I'm married. I remarried, and my husband is very similar to my late husband, to make a long story short. And I'll make another video about that. But for years, I asked for my late husband to come back. I prayed to meet his doppelganger, to have him restored in my life. That was my prayer for so many years. So my current husband, he, for some reason, the energy of me asking to see my late husband in the out of body experience took me to my current husband. So I dropped down from that sphere all the way down from that high point where my mom was. And I came back to our neighborhood. And we have a gallery right across the street from 3 of our properties. So we have like this walkable lifestyle that includes home, work, play, everything. It's all in a walkable or cyclable distance. So I flew back to our gallery, which was of course closed, and it was the middle of the night, but I was hovering around our gallery space, and my husband that night was actually sleeping in his man cave in the back of our space. And he was sleeping there, and I was moving toward him, or the space where he was. But in this out of body place, I was not able to access him for some reason. It took me all the way down from heaven to the real current world where our gallery is, to his man cave, but my body wouldn't go into where he was sleeping. So it was almost like I didn't want to interrupt him on some level, or I was afraid of what I would see. Something wouldn't let me go in there. I knew he was in there, and I was awake in my mind. I was in my soul body, but I couldn't go into his room. So I then instead, I hovered around the gallery, and I started to rise up to this space on the penthouse where we call it the love zone. And this is a space where we just do creative things and just kind of like romantic, and just, it's a space that's like really sacred and really artsy, and it's private. Though we do sometimes have people come up there, but it's very kind of like speakeasy like. So my body went there, and I just easily flew in through the window, and I started flying around this love zone and just enjoying being so free. It was amazing. I just loved it. It was like, and everything I would think would happen instantly. So there was no time, and space was like not restrictive. I could move anywhere at any time. I mean, except where my mind wouldn't let me go, which is really interesting, and I'm curious what Darius would say about that. But I was flying around, and I could go in and out of the windows. I would go up to the window and think, oh, it's a window. But then I'd just put my hand, and it would go straight through, and then I'd fly out through the window. And this was all around our gallery. I was just kind of flying around, just enjoying the space. And then I went down to, my body took me to the corridor, the alleyway between our gallery and this other building. And I could hear voices distinctly talking. And I could hear what they were saying about their next steps. And interestingly enough, the building right next to us has a new tenant who was moving out. And I could hear why they were moving out. They were talking about it just as clear as day. And it correlated with what actually happened in real life in the next few days when I woke up. So that was very, very interesting. It's like I could hear the future talking of our neighbors. So I flew around a little bit, went back up into the gallery, and then I could see my body sleeping on my bed, but it was like my virtual bed, because I knew that I don't live at my gallery in the love zone. But whilst I was out of the body in the love zone, I could look over and see where my body in my flat across the road was actually sleeping, but it was like a TV, like a ton. I could see over there whilst I was in the gallery. Whereas normally, if I'm in the gallery, I cannot see my flat across the road or see what's happening in the room. But I could see my body, and it was curled up in the same position where I was sleeping. And so I knew that was the position I had fallen asleep, and that was where my body was and how it was. So I was just looking at it. And as I started looking at it, I started being drawn to it, pulled over to it. So I remember everything Darius said whilst I was in the outer body. I could consciously remember all his steps and everything. So I knew that he had said, if you look at your body, you're going to be drawn. Hey, I'm back. So I had this mini dream whereby whilst I was out of the body, I had this sense of my daughter, and she was a baby, but she's not a baby now, but in the dream I was holding her like she was a baby, and I brought her into that position that my body was sleeping, and I said, we're gonna lie down and rest now. And that made me, that kind of vision of being with my daughter and holding her gave me the inclination or fit in with the attraction of my body wanting me to come back into it. It was a weird kind of, you know how it's like sometimes you dream something that fits with what your body's actually doing as it's sleeping. Like if you have an itch or something, then you'll dream that, and then you'll wake up and realize you actually do have an itch. So it was kind of like that. It's like I created this scenario in the love zone where my daughter was a baby and we needed to just go and sleep. And but my body was drawing me to it. So it was like an excuse for me to get back in my body. So I held her, and we was so much love. And then we lied down in the position. It was this position I was sleeping, and I fit right back into my body. And then suddenly it's like, zoop, I was back in my bed, back in my flat across the road, totally in the body again. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I did it. It happened. And I just loved it, because what it did for me, my main takeaways was that it made me realize that when I think something, it happens. That in this matrix, it seems like it takes time, or that maybe it's just a thought. But in truth, in reality, as soon as something is conceived in my mind, it happens. And that is so liberating, and it's so freeing. It tells you how much power we have as human beings. Then secondly, what I took away from that experience was that we are not bound by these physical bodies. We are not stuck in space. We can move and travel and go anywhere at any time at will. All we have to do is think it. Gravity cannot force us on this level unless we allow it to. Our ability to fly is real, and we can go through any dimension, any time, infinitely and eternally. We can go to the place where we will go when we die. We can die before we die. We are not here as victims, or we are not here wedded to struggle. We can traverse this place, this game that we've created, this simulation that we've made, and choose whatever we want to happen. We can do this fully conscious. The fact that we seem limited, that we seem bound, that we seem trapped is an illusion. We are absolutely free. We are so free to just live fully and to just accept that we will never die, that death is an illusion, that the body remains. My body was on the bed, but my soul body was moving around as if there was absolutely no end. It was such a beautiful feeling. It's so powerful, so liberating. And I'm so thankful to Darius. If you have the opportunity to take his protocol, please do. Thank you so much, Darius J. Wright. You have transformed my life. I feel so free now. Waking up from that out of the body experience has made me look at my life in a totally different way. I know that I'm not going to die, that we are not going to die, that those who have so-called died are still alive, that they're still here. They're still moving around through this space and time in another dimension. And we can access that dimension at any time. Oh, I love it. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Peace.